am gonna record it and yeah, let's just dive right in. Before we go like full scale, let's do take a slow breath together and just be here and be present so that we can really move with the energy of the month and not just hear it in our head because we're really talking about the energy and what can really move us in a more positive direction when we move with it intentionally. So just take a nice slow breath with me. Notice your body, notice your energy. Notice for a moment what has been moving in your life over the past month through June. What's been shifting for you? What do you feel like has been emerging? What's been asking for your attention this month? July is an important threshold. If you're following me, you know I talk about the Phoenix Dawn journey as the astrology that we're experiencing in the year 2026, the fire horse year. And we are rapidly coming to the conclusion of gate two, which is essentially quarter two. We just had the solstice, and that means, we're kind of at that halfway mark for the year. June has been a lot about emotional coherence and learning what truly sustains us, what we need on an emotional level, what nourishes us, what allows us to carry that fire, the fire of the fire horse, without burning ourselves out in the process. Because fire is like that, right? It can be used very productively, and it can be quite destructive in various ways when we're not as intentional with it. So June has been asking us, can your fire be sustained by your heart? And now the journey is changing as we move into gate three. We're crossing this new threshold in our experience of the 2026 year and its energy. And so the question is becoming, or it's moving from who am I becoming to am I willing to let others see who I'm becoming? There's a lot more emphasis on visibility in quarter three. So let that land for a moment and let's start to feel into this invitation of July. We're talking about visibility, but it's not perfection and it's not certainty. It's really more about authenticity and expression that is coming from our truth, not just that Leo expansiveness of I need to be seen, but I need to be, I need to bring my whole truth into what I'm putting out there to be seen. So it's the courage to stop hiding that inner flame that we have. And the big picture of July is there's two players really, Jupiter and Mercury. And we can really understand the whole month through those two layers. Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter is going to be transitioning into Leo this coming week. And at the same time, Mercury is going to retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So Jupiter goes into Leo on June 29th. And it's beginning this first full month of July in the sign of Leo. Jupiter always expands whatever it comes into contact with. So in Leo, it is amplifying creativity, visibility, leadership, self expression, confidence, the desire to be seen, the desire to share your gifts, the desire to show up more fully into your authentic radiance. Leo reminds us that we're never meant to spend our lives hiding. Leo likes to be out there, likes to be on stage. And at the same time, very same time, Mercury is retrograde in a much more quiet, more internal sign of Cancer. So the mind turns inward and the heart is revisiting old conversations, old memories, old stories that we hold about belonging and safety and vulnerability, visibility. So this is like a really fascinating tension between, really being out there and external and extroverted and being also kind of very inwardly focused. And so this spotlight is arriving even as we are examining what it means to stand within it. July is not a month of waiting until we feel ready. It's this month of growing our visibility alongside growing our self awareness. Jupiter is expanding the invitation, and Mercury is deepening our reflection about what is happening and what's coming up for us, and what we're feeling as we're stepping into greater visibility. Leo, Jupiter in Leo is asking, will you step forward? While Mercury is asking, what part of you is stepping forward? Jupiter in Leo expands what is authentic. You could also think of it as exposing what is not authentic. And throughout July, we're going to get lots of opportunities for life to show us, help us notice the difference. What's authentic, what's not authentic. So let's just kind of walk through the month. I'm going to break it into like 3 chunks: the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, the end of the month, and what each of those are focusing in on. So beginning of July, we could think of this as the spark arriving. We begin the month with this tremendous amount of movement and energy. The first week of the month is just jam-packed with a lot of different transits happening. That really doesn't surprise me as an astrologer, and as I'm thinking about the whole structure of this Phoenix Dawn 2026 year. The summer is really like the energetic heart of 2026. So no surprise, it's kind of opening with a pow. And we'll even see that in terms of 4th of July, right? Here in the US anyway. So Jupiter is newly moved into Leo on June 29th. So, just at those first degrees of Leo. And at the same time, Chiron just went into Taurus. So they're going to form a square with each other on July 1st. And on July 2nd, Mars is going to square the moon's nodes. On the 3rd, Uranus is going to form a conjunction with Mars. I'm walking through them fast, so just bear with me, and then I'll kind of tell you, I'll break down what each of these are, because they're just like one after the other. It's like you're getting peppered. Mars is going to form a sextile with Neptune on July 4th, and then a trine with Pluto on the 5th. So there's Mars, 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 and more Mars. Very active planet, very activating planet. And then finally, the sun is going to square Saturn on July 6th. So with all this like energy coming in at us, it's definitely, I like this feeling of we're standing at the edge of a new chapter, and the future is beginning to speak to us. New opportunities are emerging, new possibilities are appearing, maybe some unexpected conversations happen, insights are coming in, and you're like, ooh, where did that come from? Just kind of arising as if out of nowhere. So moving into like, what do all those different transits look like, feel like? Let's talk about Mars conjunct Uranus first. Uranus is in Gemini. One of the most electric aspects that we get this month. The mind feels like it's moving very quickly. The future feels very alive. So there may be that feeling of excitement in you, or curiosity, anticipation. And then at the same time, we have that Jupiter square Chiron reminding us that growth can activate old insecurities. As we start to expand, that can feel like uncomfortable because it rubs up against something in our past, maybe that is something maybe we're not fully over, and it feels like, ooh, exciting, but also maybe terrifying at exactly the same time. So you can feel called towards something bigger, and at the same time become aware that there's some doubts that you still have beneath the surface. So it's not a sign that we're off track, it's just a sign that growth is happening, because confidence is not something that we will achieve before we take action. We'd all like it to work that way, but instead confidence is something that we develop because we are taking action. It is developed in the process, in the refinement of it. And then when Saturn enters into the conversation with that Sun square Saturn transit, it's a reality check. The responsibilities of what we're expanding become visible. The limitations of what we're expanding reveal themselves. And yes, of course, that can feel frustrating. We don't necessarily love that feeling of restriction and limitation, and Saturn is well known for that. But it does serve a purpose for us because Saturn is not trying to extinguish the fire. What it's a better way to think of it is Saturn is helping us build a container that's strong enough to hold that fire. And the question is, can you build a life that's capable of holding what you're asking for? So Saturn gives us structure as much as it gives us limitation. As we move into the middle of July, it becomes all about that authenticity versus performance. In the middle of the month, it's more reflective. On July 7th, Neptune is going to turn retrograde, and then Venus enters Virgo on July 9th. That's a very, slow and steady, get it right kind of sign. Cancer, the new moon, the new moon is going to be in Cancer. That arrives on July 14th. So at the same time, we're continue moving through a number of like important Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Saturn activations. And this section of the month begins to really feel like refinement. The Neptune retrograde is going to be about removing illusions. What once felt inspiring, maybe now it needs a little discernment. What once felt impossible could suddenly feel more attainable. And what once felt certain may reveal assumptions that we need to re-examine. So it's not saying, hey, abandon the vision, but hey, we got to take off the rose-colored glasses and remove the fantasy thinking and separate intuition from wishful thinking. That way we can trust what remains after the illusion dissolves. And then with Venus entering Virgo, the heart is shifting from inspiration towards implementation. Virgo's a doer. So we're moving from dreaming to refining, and from possibility into practicality, vision to craftsmanship. This is important because authentic expression does require structure, and it requires consistency, it requires embodiment, and those are the kind of qualities we get when Virgo and Capricorn and Saturn come into the picture. All of those energies are about, making things happen and making them be able to manifest themselves in physical reality. The Cancer new moon in July 14th, definitely an important moment this month. Cancer is bringing us back to the heart, back to home, back to belonging and emotional safety. And that feels really especially important within the larger theme of visibility, because visibility without belonging is just performance. Visibility without self-trust becomes exhausting. Visibility without emotional safety creates anxiety. But when visibility is rooted in belonging, that's when it really becomes authenticity, authentic expression. Visibility that's rooted in self-trust becomes leadership. So as we move through this middle section of July, you might discover that you're outgrowing an old version of yourself. There's an old identity or old expectations, old ways of relating or being seen. And there's this invitation to let those things go. Not necessarily to force a new identity. In fact, definitely don't force anything. But the invitation is just simply to stop clinging to what no longer fits, because once we let it go, then the new identity begins to emerge on its own, and we don't have to force it. By the end of July, we have this full arrival of the spotlight, because finally Mercury will be out of retrograde. Yay! So this really begins to open up the future. We stop having to do so much internal digging around and making sure and checking ourselves, and is this really aligned with my heart space? And we get to move more fully, more confidently into the spotlight and into full expansion. Between July 20th and 21st, Jupiter's our power player. It's going to be forming aspects with Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus. So a trine with Neptune, an opposition to Pluto, and a sextile to Uranus. And it's really, really powerful, powerful energy here. Not only is it significant in the month of July, but it's actually, according to a lot of astrologers, one of the most significant periods in decades. And I know that sounds like overblown. Astrology loves to like, make big statements, but this one is a big one. It's this Jupiter involved with Pluto, involved with Uranus, involved with Neptune. They're actually all having conversations with each other. That's one way I like to talk about it as an astrologer. And they're forming what we call a pattern, an aspect pattern. And the pattern is a basket pattern. And it's actually all very auspicious, meaning, good energy, very powerful. And it's all the outer planets, which makes it super significant, which is why astrologers are talking about this for years, like, ooh, what is this going to mean? It's because it's really positive, it feels like faith expands, possibility expands, opportunity expands. The future that we've been imagining is starting to really come onto line and no longer be just a theoretical idea. It's becoming more tangible, more reachable, more real. And somehow this is like collectively a moment that we will end up looking back on as pivotal for our world. Something like COVID or World War II or the Great Recession, it's that kind of a moment where it's really that big, but it's far more positive. Like something really beautiful is on the horizon right now. So that's something to pay attention to. And in the midst of that basket pattern, I think what's really worth paying particular notice to is the opposition. Jupiter opposite Pluto. This transit reminds us that expansion always brings responsibility. And of course, that's on the collective level. There's a lot of places where we see responsibility needs to step up, but it's on a personal level too. So on both collective and personal level, power becomes a theme, leadership, integrity. And if we're thinking about ourselves, the question is like that Leo aspect of how much can I shine? How big can I become? But there's more going on than that. The opposition is asking us, what am I going to do with this opportunity? And how do I step up and serve the world with my visibility and my sense of calling? So it's not just shining brightly or getting bigger for the sake of, but for what does it serve? Then we have Leo season coming in July 22nd. That's when the sun will go into Leo. And of course, spotlight on, the heart takes center stage. Creativity is going to grow stronger. The desire to express yourself becomes harder to ignore. July 23rd is when Mercury officially is stationing direct again. And we're done. No more review process. We're finished with it. The lessons from that review process now feel very visible to us. We know what it was all about. It all starts making sense. And you may discover that what changed wasn't necessarily the plan, but it was the person carrying it. In other words, you. You changed yourself through the process. And so how you activate that plan changes. When we arrive at July 29th, it's a very powerful day with the sun conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter obviously has been making a lot of noise already, so the sun kind of brings the focal point there. And at the same time, on July 29th, we have the Aquarius full moon rising. So Leo's asking what wants to shine, and Aquarius, which is the opposite sign in the chart, wants to ask, why does your light matter? And together they come and ask, how does your uniqueness serve something larger than yourself? So it's just this perfect echo of Jupiter in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And so, whenever a question is repeated twice, we know it's like underlining it, right? So this is a very important question. The astrology is really clearly pointing to, hey, pay attention to this. How does your uniqueness serve something larger than yourself? It's not just about getting attention. It's not about performance. It's not about becoming more impressive, but it's really about your contribution. The courage to allow your gifts to become useful and to allow your light to participate in the world. And my core audience is soul-led creators, so I always love to bring this into focus for soul-led creators. What's the month asking for us? It's deeply connected to visibility, but not visibility for visibility's sake. Authentic visibility. So you may discover that you have outgrown parts of your business or your messaging, your content, your offerings, perhaps your leadership style even. And Mercury retrograde is there to help reveal those places for you because you are evolving. So you may notice things over the month of July like, hey, this messaging feels outdated. It's just not quite what I want to say anymore. Um, Content maybe doesn't feel as exciting to you. It wants to emerge differently. Visibility strategies maybe start to feel performative, things I've done in the past that just don't quite fit anymore. And there's this really deeper desire just to be seen more honestly and a stronger urge to share from our own lived experience, because that's where our power and our wisdom is what we have ourselves moved through. So pay attention to that. This month's invitation to you is not to push harder or produce more or force more growth, but it's really become more congruent, become more aligned, be more genuine, because we all know people are no longer looking for polished experts. They're really looking for real human beings, who will share what they've actually lived, humans that are willing to evolve themselves, willing to be visible in the messy, be visible even while still becoming. So that's the deeper lesson of July. Your expansion will not come from becoming more impressive. It's going to come from becoming more authentic, which is vulnerable. So it's asking us to embrace our vulnerability and do it even if it's scary. So we're going to take a moment here to do a little visualization. I always feel like this helps us integrate it deeper into our own personal experience, beyond just hearing it with our mind, and taking it from out there to really something that we're holding within ourselves. So if it feels comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes, take a slow breath, and imagine yourself standing at a doorway. Behind you is that version of yourself that believed that you needed to fully be ready before you could be seen. The version that believed that confidence comes first, confidence before action. The version of you that thought visibility required perfection. And now look ahead. And beyond the doorway, see the next version of yourself. This version is not finished, not perfected, simply more honest, more expressed, more visible. And see that new version of yourself holding in your hands a flame. And notice that you're not trying to make that flame bigger. You're simply allowing yourself to stop hiding it. Ask yourself now, what part of me is ready to be seen or is ready to be more visible, is ready to take up more space? Notice any word, phrase, image, any feelings that begin to emerge as you think about that more visible self. Don't force it, just simply receive it. That is your message for July. That's your compass as we move into gate 3 in the Phoenix Dawn. Keep that word, that phrase, that feeling, that image with you as a reminder for this month that's coming online. Write it down maybe if that helps, either if it's something small right in the moment, or take a minute or two after the session here so that you can capture it. And now envision yourself stepping through that doorway, merging with that self that's carrying the flame, carrying your truth, carrying the next version of yourself into this month ahead. Now take another breath. When you're ready, gently return. I'm going to do one more thing for us here just to really dial it in for the group of us who's here today, really put a fine point on it. Certainly relevant to whoever is going to be watching the recording of this later as well. I love to pull during this session from my deck, the Business Astrology Oracle, so we can really tap into that soul-led creator within us and the vision that we have for what we're manifesting in the world. So I'm shuffling up here a little bit. They always feel like they're so on point that I think people feel like I pulled it ahead of time. So I just want to be clear, I'm shuffling. So let's see what wants to come out of this deck to support our clarity on July. Ooh, I got a mermaid. I'm so excited. Everybody knows I'm the warrior mermaid. So let me see. Hold on. I'm going to change my settings so you guys can see the mermaid more clearly. I got to take off my touch up, and mirroring always messes it up. Okay, there you go. Can we see that a little bit? Maybe? No, she's kind of hard to see, huh? Yeah. She's a mermaid. It's Venus, and it says magnetize. That's what's on the card. And what the book says about it. Let's see, she's number 32. Keywords: money, receptivity, allure, and abundance. If we pull this card, it indicates that your business's receptivity and magnetism needs focus, and you may be feeling stuck or out of flow with what you really have to offer. Are you clear about the value that your business brings to its clients or customers? In business astrology specifically, Venus represents the way in which your business can most effectively receive, as well as its core brand values and magnetism. And the message that Venus brings in is that we need to be secure in our business's value to the world and radiate that value out in order for revenues to flow in. So you can ask yourself, what does Venus in your chart tell you about the value you offer through your business and the most easeful way to grow it? If you know your own chart, if you have your own chart, you can look and see where Venus is at. If you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to help you with that too if you're not sure. But I think what comes through to me is that we have to be aligned with ourselves, that she's reminding us that knowing our own values is really going to help us to show up more visibly, more expanded from that true space of authenticity, because we know ourselves deeply, and that's what we're bringing forward, and that's what resonates with people. So with that, I am going to open it up to questions. If there's any questions about any of the transits or just in a general kind of way, feel free to just jump in. There's just 4 of us on the call today, so plenty of room for conversation. Anybody have a question?
Thanks again, Callie. You're reminding me that last month I said I was booking a session with you. I'm at a really big crossroads
Okay. Uh-huh.
in terms of my trust work
Mm-hmm.
and its direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I I appreciate your reminder to really focus on the congruence part.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
had planned something and I'm reimagining it. So I really want to thank you for the timing of that. And especially, I think sometimes it's really hard the longer we're in business, that part about, you mentioned it about separating our illusions from wishful thinking. So just really want to thank you for kind of emphasizing that as part of Neptune. And I think sometimes we think of the retrogrades and they feel sometimes like we're moving backwards,
absolutely.
or laterally, like it's some sort of pause. And I think I really appreciate your reminder to keep moving forward with the reflections and to not feel like we're stuck somewhere.
Absolutely.
That card that you just drew about the magnetized part is of great is of great interest, and I really will. I'm gonna book our session, especially now that you're back, and I love your hair. So
Oh,
thank you, and
thank
thank
you.
you, and
That's
thank you
fun.
for pulling a mermaid card to to remind us to keep swimming. But your visualization was really helpful because it reminded me, and I've been fascinated recently about clouds, and it
Hmm.
reminded me that process of floating so that I feel like an active participant in my business, not just a coach
Love it.
who's sharing my energy reserves. So I really want to thank you for that as a reminder
Beautiful, Melanie.
and an
Beautiful.
invitation.
Yeah, keep moving forward and also reflect at the same time, right?
Truly trying. I gave myself kind of a month from the date we left on the plane for vacation to
Hmm.
kind of just move into whatever this new direction is. So thank you again for your timing. And I know the
You are
dates you're picking for your forecast aren't an accident, but thank you so much.
Yeah, they're not an accident. That's true. And so, like, that's why they end up falling on different days of the week and so forth. I'm always looking for, what feels like the prime time to share the message for the upcoming month. And happens to be that we have Sun trying the North nodes. Well, yeah, trying the North node today. So it's all about, thinking about the future and bringing the focus to, what are we envisioning into the future. So it was a powerful day to offer this message. And yes, I wanted to be ahead of the retrograde too. Gets a little more dicey at that point. Krista, do you have any questions?
Um, well, no, it's just interesting because I actually had a conversation yesterday. Because one of the things I'm feeling right now is like the desire to share my yoga practice. I had just gotten my yoga teacher training certificate. And I'm definitely feeling like I want to share that with others.
That's where the
It was
visibility
just,
wants to come online.
yeah, but it was just interesting talking about the uniqueness and how does your uniqueness serve something larger than yourself. Like yesterday when I was talking to somebody about it, 'cause I was telling her that I want to start a yoga community or just, and put videos on YouTube. And thank you, Melanie. Um, it was funny because she's just like, well, there's a ton of yoga people out there. Like, what is unique about what you're offering? And I'm like, it's from my heart. Like, I don't,
Ooh, so there's the Mercury
so,
retrograde reflection aspect of it
right.
too, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah. Well, you don't have to have
yeah.
the answer today. Like, that's the
I
whole
know.
idea is we've got Mercury retrograde in weeks to really
Yeah,
be pondering this, but I guarantee you by the end of July you're gonna feel like really clear about it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting because like literally that just came up yesterday and I'm just like, yeah, I was thinking about it and how it is unique. So great to hear that that's on the horizon. I'll get that clarity. Maybe I'll start carrying
I think
around some clear quartz.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Carry around some crystal quartz. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, clear quartz. I mean, I think it's going to be really an exciting, exciting summer ahead. So, there's just so much potential. And I think, just a lot of really good vibrations, so to speak, for us to work with. And Mercury retrograde is just allowing us to take it slow and take it at our own pace instead of getting overwhelmed by it and really being able to go back and check in on that heart level. So um, we tend to just sort of have a very black and white idea about Mercury retrograde and it's all bad. But the reality is it's so much more nuanced than that. And there's so many other energetic factors in play. So I feel like every Mercury retrograde is really unique, and all of them actually give us the opportunity to ask really important questions.
Yeah. No, it's so true. If anything, though, it actually helps me going slower in terms of being more mindful and discerning rather than trying to breeze through, at least with this uniqueness conversation. Because, obviously it'd be easier to just have this like light bulb flash, but um, I think just with the way everything has developed for me over the past few months, like I have trust that that clarity will arrive because it's come in so many different ways, like through different steps, and just I only need that clarity on my next action. I don't need it for further down the road. And so I appreciate that it will be slow and thoughtful. Um, so
And I think it's great too that it's not asking us to absolutely stop dead in the water. It's like
yeah,
encouraging us to keep moving forward and at the same time be noticing, be asking the questions, be truthful with
yeah,
ourselves about what we're experiencing and, the meaning that we're making from it.
yeah, yeah. That's good. It's all good. So it's ironic because I actually leave for vacation to go see my family on July 21st. So I think that was like one of the days that you had thrown out there. I'm trying
Yeah,
to go back and look at my
that's
notes.
right where that Jupiter opposite Pluto.
Pluto? No.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
say, I mean, the overall pattern is so beautiful and it's really, really going to be fascinating to see, especially on the collective level. What is emerging, but I mean, it also hits all of us individually as well. And I think there's a just like COVID, it happened for all of us, and there was an individual
Yeah.
experience of it as much as a collective one. So you could think of it in that way, but in a much more positive version, which is really reassuring. Wants to go. Yeah. Um, yeah. So
Well,
I mean, and you'll have that space, I think, too, with being on vacation to maybe
enjoy.
you always get that perspective factor, right? Like you step back from your daily and your regular life, and then you can see the broader picture. So it's a really great angle for you to be able to look at that pattern that's emerging.
Yeah. I've always had really interesting experiences as well these past few years when I've been in Maine in terms of like art, because that's where I go, but like in terms of stuff coming in. Like, yeah, I can tell you about it later, but like there's definitely been some like really like wow, I've never had this happen to me before experience when I go there.
Probably this version of it won't be any different in that sense. Like it'll be different,
Yeah.
and at the same time, it will be that same feeling of, oh wow, here we are again.
Yeah.
Very, very
So it'll be
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you though. This was great.
Good, good. Glad you enjoyed it. Any other questions from either of you before we sign off?
No,
Nope, nope. I think Melanie, nope too. Okay, well, so good to see both of you. Thank you for tuning in to the live, and I will talk to you both soon.
sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right, have a
Thanks.
good one.
Safe travels, Chris. Thanks again.
Thanks. See you
Bye.
guys. Bye.